Let's talk about the skills practice for level 4 of exploring creation with mathematics. The skills practice is described in detail in this book, both in the front and then in each of the unit intros. I tell you exactly which skills you're going to practice and how you're going to practice. If you want to see a quick overview of the skills, they are on the pacing guide. So each day it shows you a lesson and a skill that you need to do. So what is this skills practice? It's a spiraling review of previously learned mathematics. Maybe your child learned it the year before or in a previous chapter. You spend a short amount of time, like 5 to 10 minutes, working on it, and it's so that they can fully master the concept. There are a lot of ideas put in here. I'm going to show those. I'm also going to throw in some other new ones to show you. I think the key here is variety. So if you have a kid that's really struggling with their multiplication facts and maybe feeling frustrated or upset about it, it might be a great idea to take the time to play a game that they really find fun and engaging, and they're practicing a lot because they're enjoying the game. Other days, you might not have the time for that, or you might have 3 kids in Apologia Math. It's fine to also use worksheets or do something really quick. So I'm gonna show you a lot of different suggestions. Keep that in mind. In our homeschool, I kind of toggle back and forth between a little more involved, let's play a game, let's do something fun, or let's just do something quick. The key is that you do it. The skills practice for Unit 1 of Level 4 is 2 different skills: adding 3-digit numbers and subtracting 3-digit numbers. So one of the simplest ways you can practice this is with note cards. Sometimes people laugh at me because it's so straightforward, but this is really all you need some days. You just write one problem on a note card and just like lay that on their book. It works even better if you use a Post-it note and tell them, okay, do that problem before you start your lesson. A lot of times what I do is you just have one problem or you just have 2 problems. If you get them both right, we're moving forward. And that really encourages my kids to take their time and really think about it, rather than giving them a whole sheet and they rush and it's not really worth our time. So note cards or Post-its. There's also a game called The Greatest Sum. For The Greatest Sum, you give each player 6 Uno cards and they have to arrange it to make an addition problem. So like this would be 857 plus 481. They can arrange it however they want. The idea is to be the player who makes the larger sum. So, you know, kids will start to realize like, oh, I need to like use place value and move things around, but also they are going to add it in the end. And so they're going to be doing regrouping here and practicing that skill. And all you need are some Uno cards for this one. The second skill in Unit 1 is subtraction, and you can use the same thing. So you can do the note card facts with subtraction or use a Post-it. When we played Greatest Sum with the Uno cards, you can just switch it to Greatest Difference. I did want to show you one thing with the note cards where you can make it a little more challenging. You can do it where, sorry, my handwriting's not the best, but these are blanks, where they have to figure out which digits go in. This is actually pretty tricky if you use regrouping. So you can, you know, kind of play around with it, make it a little more interesting. The other thing that's gonna be your best friend is the Book Extras website. Listen, this is Unit 1, okay? This is a pretty basic skill that we're reviewing here. It's the start of the school year. Don't make your life harder than it has to be. So if you go on the Book Extras website, there is a PDF of a whole bunch of extra worksheets, and we made some for this skills practice. So if you're not familiar with Book Extras, we put a bunch of extra resources on there. We put extra copies from the back of the teaching guide if you need to print a new game board or something like that. One of my biggest tips is go on there at the beginning of the year and just flip through and see what we have, because lots of families are like, I didn't realize you had that because I never went and saw. So I'm gonna hold up some of these. We have 3 versions of just your straight up addition worksheet, 3-digit addition. You'd be surprised. This is like kind of hard to come by, like a nicely laid out addition worksheet that's 3-digit numbers, that type of thing. So we made some for you, okay? We did the same thing with subtraction. So you can just print one of these. I also split these. Like I don't necessarily have my child do a whole worksheet in one day. If we're doing this for the skills practice, 5 to 10 minutes, I might have them do half of it or even 1 row, all right? Again, a lot of times I tell my kids, hey, if you get them all right, you're done, because it really motivates mine to like focus and try their best. I don't know if yours bounce around or not. All right, so that's the Unit 1 skills practice.
The Unit 2 skills practice for level 4 has 3 different skills. So the first one is adding and subtracting really large numbers. The second one is practicing your multiplication facts with the families of 2s, 5s, and 10s, because this is the easiest families for most kids. And then the last skill is doing the 3s and 4s multiplication facts. So you'll see it in the pacing guide, it's spread out. So you have certain days when you're working on each of those skills. Let me start by talking about adding and subtracting large numbers. So you can use similar things what you did in Unit 1, but just making more digits. So in Unit 1, you did note card facts or a little post-it, and you can just make up an addition or subtraction problem with a 5-digit number or 4-digit numbers. Let your kids check their answer with a calculator. That means that you're hands off, so you don't have to figure out the answer. And checking answers with a calculator is a skill that we want to start building now that we're in 4th grade.
Make the greatest is another option for this skill. So each player gets 8 cards, Uno cards with digits, and then they have to arrange the digits to make either the greatest sum or the greatest difference, depending on what skill you are working on. And so pretty quickly kids will figure out, okay, I need to put, the greatest digits in the higher places. But the biggest part of this skill is that if I'm playing against you, you have 8 cards, I have 8 cards, I have to add to figure out if I won. So that's the best part about that. And of course, you can also do it with the greatest difference to change the rules. We also included an extra copy of the lesson 10 game board. So this is Win the Fishbowl, and it is in lesson 10 of the book. And we just gave you a fresh copy in case you want to play it. What you do is you have the spinners here, and you spin with a paper clip a number from here, and you spin with a paper clip a number from here. From there, you are going to subtract and color in a fish that has the same difference as what you got. Whoever gets a whole fishbowl first wins. And we have the additional game board, and then we also have these recording sheets so kids can practice writing and regrouping and all of that.
The second skill is practicing your 2s, 5s, and 10s multiplication facts. You can actually do this verbally. I do this sometimes where I just say, okay, 2 times 8, 2 times 9, 2 times 5, just kind of back and forth real quick as a refresher. Flashcards are also going to be your best friend. Make sure you sort it out so you're not giving your child that whole stack. You're only doing the 2s, 5s, and 10s. If you don't feel like sorting, just have them skip. You're like, okay, not that one, not that one. And then you can have them practice. We have some great resources for you on the Book Extras website for this one. We have made some worksheets where it's just the 2s, 5s, and 10s so that they can practice that and just kind of learn from there. We have 3 versions of this so they can focus on some of the simpler facts before adding in the harder ones. We have these cut and sticks, which are one of my favorites. So these are all the different 10s multiplication facts. All the answers are here, so they just cut them out and glue them in place. That's a good scaffolding because kids can see that they have all the answers. This is the 5s. And so it reduces their anxiety, and they can use the process of elimination, and that's the point, right? So that they can help figure out the answer. The other thing we have on the Book Extras website that's super popular in my house are these fact mazes. So, they're all kind of similar, like get the bird to the, what are we doing? To the flowers, okay? And you have to follow the path of the 10s, and it gets you there. So this helps them get used to like 5, 10, 15, 20, which is one of the best ways to help kids with their facts. The last skill that you're going to practice in Unit 2 are the 3s and the 4s. So you can use flashcards, just like I said for 2s, 5s, and 10s. You've got a couple options here. You could have them just do the 3s and 4s, or you can add the 3s and the 4s in with the 2s, 5s, and 10s. That's what we did in our house, that we're kind of building and maintaining that. You can play Battleship. So I printed this board off from the Book Extras website, but there's also like a nicer, colorful board, right? That comes with the extra teaching guide pages. So how does this work? Well, if you're familiar with the rules of Battleship, you try to hit the other person's boat by saying like 3 times 7 is 21. And if they have their boat on that spot, then you get a hit. One thing that's really great is if you do this now, what we normally do is we'll say, okay, we're practicing 2s, 5s, 10s, 3s, and 4s. So we black out some of the rows, like the 7s, the 8s, the 9s. And what that does is actually speeds up the game. Battleship can be really long. So we'll just take a marker and like block those out, and it makes the game faster and lets us focus on certain facts. We have two kinds of boards. We have the ones with the answers written, or you can get a board where this is all blank, and so they have to be able to say the fact from memory. One other suggestion that again is simple but super popular is flashcard war. So you have two players, they have stacks of flashcards. Whoever has the higher product wins both cards, and you play till someone has all the cards, or you set a timer to see who has the most. Again, you want to sort them out so that you only have 2s, 5s, 10s, 3s, and 4s. So you're working on those families. The skills practice for Unit 3 is to learn your 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s, and then to do all your facts together. So this is going to really parallel what you did before with the simpler fact families, the 2, 5s, and 10s. And I would say if you found something that your kid really liked there, keep doing it, just add in more facts. So if they love flashcard war, you're going to continue to play flashcard war, but you've added in 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s facts. They love battleship. Now you're playing with all the rows. Again, we have resources for you on the Book Extras website, so you can print worksheets. If you just want to have them just go through facts. You can also work with your child verbally. I think we often forget about this, but you can just be quizzing them. Feel free to have a times table in front of you if you don't want to think, and just be making up questions and see if they can say it quickly. That's the goal. We also have these skip counting mazes, so they need to know their 8 so that they can get the bear. Where am I going? The bear to the fish, okay? So these are great, especially if they're like really weak in 1. Like a lot of kids struggle with 7s and 8s. They are tricky, okay? So those are an option. One last overarching tip I want to give for multiplication facts is music. There are lots of songs out there that help kids learn their multiplication facts. They vary widely, and so we didn't put any links or anything like that because we don't know your family's preferences on music, but I've had lots of kids where the only thing they've done for multiplication facts is learn songs. So the songs help. You want to do that, have them memorize it, and then eventually, though, you do want to get to them a place where they can answer the fact without singing the whole song. The skills practice for Unit 4 is division facts. First, you're gonna work with 2s, 5s, and 10s, and then you're gonna work with the 3s and the 4s. Flashcards are your best friend. Again here, keep it really simple and just flip through, or you can have them play flashcard war, where 2 players flip over a division flashcard. Whoever has the greater quotient wins both cards. The object is to win all the cards. Again, we have some great resources for you on the Book Extras website. So this worksheet is one of your easier options, the cut and stick. So it has all the 10s, division facts, all the answers, cut them out, glue them in place. That one's probably gonna be pretty easy with the 10s because they'll notice a pattern. But here's your 5s, 2s. We also have just regular division worksheets, just nicely spaced and formatted. Here's kind of a different format so that they can practice the facts that they need for that unit. I love to have these printed out and ready to go. Our favorite thing for division, though, is capture the square. This is what the game board looks like. What I love about this is you can play this game and add in fact families or take fact families out, and it all uses the same game board. So how you play is you flip over a division flashcard. Let's say it's 21 divided by 3, and then you find a square with a 7 and you draw a line. Same basic rules where you have different players with different colored pencils, and you're trying to be the last person to close the square and capture it. So much fun. And you can start off just doing this with the 2s, 5s, and 10s flashcards, and then later add in the 3s and the 4s. You can also shrink the board if you want to make it a little faster. We almost always set a timer in our house so that games don't run long. The skills practice for Unit 5 is to do your 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s of your division facts, and then all your division facts. You've probably noticed a pattern here, okay? Multiplication and division is just like the thing in this level. They've got to get it down by the end of this year. So 6s and 7s, 8s, and 9s, you can parallel whatever you did before. If they love flashcard war for division or multiplication facts before, continue playing with that. You can do flashcards, you can do capture the square, and now you're adding in 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s flashcards. And there's worksheets, of course, on the Book Extras website with now adding in those new fact families. When you're doing all the division facts within 100, of course, you're doing the same games with the whole stack now, but I do have two things I want to show you that are additional. We have division bingo, and this is what you set up the bingo cards as. So you can have everybody draw their own bingo card and actually write their answers themselves so that everybody's card is a little different. And then the caller reads a division fact, and whoever gets bingo first wins. Finally, a capstone activity is to have them match things. So we want them to have a connection between multiplication and division. And so I normally write these cards myself because it's easier than trying to find them. But you would have facts like 7 times 8 equals 56, 56 divided by 7 equals 8. And you have pairs and time them trying to match them. And that just really solidifies for them the connection between multiplication and division. Unit 6 skills practice, woohoo, you made it, is factors and multiples. These are so key for so much, so make sure you finish strong. First, we're gonna do factors. And so one of the easiest ways to jump into this is to print one of these worksheets off the Book Extras website. These are factor tables, so you fill them in with the different ways you can multiply to get 30, 5 times 6, 3 times 10, 1 times 30. So you can print these. There's also a suggestion in the book of different numbers you can give to your child and have them make a factor table. So it can be that simple, like before your lesson, you're like, okay, 25, what are all the factors? And if they make a table, it's easier for them not to miss some. You can also do common factors. So again, we have a list in the teaching guide for you of different numbers. You can pick two and say, okay, 24 and 16, what are all the common factors? Just to get them kind of ready for that. If they aren't ready to just say that verbally, have them make 2 tables and then circle the ones that they have in common. There's also a game called Prime Sum that I want to show you. So how you play Prime Sum is you set up cards that have a numeral, so Uno is a great option, in a 5x5 grid. When it's your turn, you flip over 2 cards and you add them together. So 2 plus 2 is 4. If it's prime, you remove them and get a point. If it's not prime, they stay on the board. So these are not prime because 4 is not prime. It's composite, so I flip it back over. 4 and 1, this is prime. So I get a point, I'll keep those, and then I put 2 new cards. And you just keep playing. 7 and 9 is 16, that's composite. 9 and 7, still composite. So it's just getting the kids to practice primes and getting used to that. It's totally fine if they start playing this game with a list of the prime numbers next to them. Last but not least, multiples. So these parallel so well with the multiplication facts that this should be a pretty gentle skill to end with. You want to have them learn those songs that where they, do the multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, so they can just list those off. You can even have them work with a times table to learn to just say like all the multiples of 9.